P&L today. Thank you so much for opening up, Sandra, and both of you and the Newitts. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. And I'll sit down, and everyone sit, please. And I'm not going to talk that long because it's so much better if I get questions from people as opposed to hearing me like drone all along. And we're on a great tour. We call it Live from Florida's Living Rooms. So we're literally going all over the state of Florida, meeting with your folks like you, sitting in people's living rooms and talking to the people. Because truly it's all about the people. I remember like in 1992, it always comes to my mind when James Carville said, remember he said it's the economy, stupid? I think it's different. I think it's the people. It's the people. It's all about the people. That's the most important thing. And I ran for mayor. I knocked on 6,000 doors. I said if I had about 50, 60 years in this campaign, I could probably knock on 18, 19 million doors. I said it's just going to take way too long for me to do it. So we figured we're going to get down as much as possible, listen, talk to the people, real Floridians like yourself. So for some of you who don't know me, I'm going to give you the quick, brief bio of myself, and I'll make it as brief as possible. I am born in Boston, moved down to South Florida when I was about 10 years old, and brought my parents with me, of course, and went to college up at the University of Michigan. I majored in political science.
Go Blue.
Yeah, there you go. Go Blue. That's it. Well, usually I say I went to the U of M, and everybody goes, Hurricane. I go, no, University of Michigan. And it doesn't sell well in Miami. And when I was a kid that did every job you could possibly imagine. I shoveled snow for $1. I worked at Baskin Robbins for $1.65. I washed more cars than I've ever thought possible. I parked cars in hotels and used to have those cars pull up, and I never understood in a million years how in the world can I get one of those when someone pull up with a nice car. And went to college, University of Michigan, came back down, didn't have a family business to go into, and I literally answered an ad in a newspaper called the Miami Herald. And I have to say, they were a big part of my success. And the ad said a little company called Royal Caribbean was looking for a lecturer to come on board their ship and give lectures about the ports of call. And I thought, oh my God, what a great opportunity. This would be so much fun. I'm going to try to do it. So I went down to interview, and thank God they did no due diligence. And there was no internet. And they said, all right, I'll put you on board. And I went on board a cruise ship called the Song of America. And I'll tell you, they gave me a little cabin below the waterline with no porthole and no bathroom. And I remember thinking, why did I do this? This is career suicide, like at 23 years old. All your friends are going to work for these great companies, and Philip is Julie on Love Boat, okay? And I remember thinking, how do I get off? This is terrible. And I thought, maybe I can call the Coast Guard. Maybe the Coast Guard will get me off. Because I had no idea. I had like $500 to my name, and I thought, I didn't know what the Coast Guard charges to get you off a cruise ship. I said, all right, I'll just get through it. I'll go to this presentation, and probably 15, 20 people, I'll talk, and then I'll just get off the ship. I get to the lounge. It was called like the Oklahoma Lounge. And there was 1,500 people, like standing room only in the lounge. And I remember it was like that movie Broadcast News. I mean, fight or flight, 180-degree vision. I'm thinking, I'm going to die. This is horrible. And the cruise director is one of these suave, debonair, British guys, gray, silver hair. And he introduces me and he says, ladies and gentlemen, we have the foremost expert in the entire Caribbean, one of the greatest speakers in the world, talking to us today. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I get up there, I start speaking, and my arms are frozen. And I started to talk, and people started to listen. And cracked a couple of jokes, they laughed. And for me, that was the beginning of the rest of my life in the cruise ship industry. And got off, and with $500, I started a little company that turned into a very big company in the cruise ship industry. And I sold the company, and I said, how am I going to give back? How can I help? I said, I'm not dying to spend my life just becoming the wealthiest guy in the world. I want to give back, and I want to help. And I said, I'm going to run for mayor of my own town called Miami Beach. And everybody said, there is no way in the world this entrepreneur can win. He has no name ID. Our city's 50% Hispanic. And by the way, you got to imagine, I'm running up against a gay Cuban commissioner with big name ID, okay? And I did something very different. Well, the first thing is, they didn't realize que pueblo español fluentemente. They had no idea what I was trying to fluent, okay? And the second thing I did is, as I said, I knocked on 6,000 doors. I broke into every single condominium building in Miami Beach, okay? And all those tall high-rises, I would go in, I'd evade security, I'd go to the top of the building, I would start knocking on doors, and I learned early on, do not go in the elevators, there's security cameras, okay? You'll get thrown out. So I would do the stairwell, and I would just knock on people's doors. And I went to single-family homes, and I literally ate more white flies than I ever thought possible. And you know, the media said, wow, this person really is talking to the people. And I ran a television commercial. As you know, sea level rise, climate change is one of our big issues, one of the big issues around the state of Florida, around the world. We had what's called sunny day flooding in certain parts of our city where during a beautiful day the water is rising, people's cars are being ruined, they're thinking about their future, their livelihood, their property values. And I ran a TV commercial where it shows me paddling down one of our main roads during a key tide. And I'm wearing a yellow slicker, and the water's pouring down. And I said, some people want to be the mayor of Venice. I want to be the mayor of Miami Beach. And I had my boxer dog, Earl, with me. And water's pouring down his head. And I turned to him, and I go, paddle, Earl, paddle. And he looks up and he cries at the exact right moment to the camera. And we took that commercial and we put it on our big motion picture theater on an area called Lincoln Road in Miami Beach, and everyone in the city watched it. And I won in the landslide. And then I won again. And of course, my dog Earl thinks somehow he was involved, and he's the reason why I won the election. And he became a popular dog in Miami Beach and still is. And I always said that when I was running for a second term, I said the only one I'm concerned about running against me is Earl, okay? Because he has big social media presence, everybody likes him, and he never takes a position on anything, okay? So I said, this is the guy I'm concerned about. Right? So everyone says you got to run for a third term. We've done so much in Miami Beach, and I'll talk about what we've done. And I said I'm not going to run for a third term. And I said I know I won't have an opponent. I said, but that's not the point. I said, every single thing that we said we were going to do, and there's a checklist, we've done it. And if we haven't finished it, it's in process. I said, change is good. I said, I'm going to run for governor of Florida, and I'm going to look at some of the things that we accomplished in Miami Beach, and we're going to do it statewide. One of the big things we did in Miami Beach is we passed the first minimum living wage in the state of Florida. And that's a big deal. And of course, we're being sued now by the governor, by the Retail Federation, by the state of Florida. We're being sued by more entities than I even thought possible. And it's going to go to the Florida Supreme Court this year. And we did it because it's the right thing to do. Because we know people can't live on $8.25 an hour. And that's the reason why we did it. And we believe it's the right thing for the state of Florida to raise the minimum living wage. The second thing, as I just talked about, is we didn't sit around and talk about resiliency. We didn't wait for consultants to hire consultants. We actually just went out there and did it, and raised the roads, put in pumps, changed our building codes, literally raised our seawalls. We have a $500 million project in place right now, and we did it without any state help. But we're lucky. We're a fortunate community. It's a very affluent community. So we were able to do that. But there are communities all over the state that are experiencing sea level rise that don't have those kind of resources. I can tell you, the state didn't really help us at all. As a matter of fact, as you know, saying climate change is not a very popular statement up in Tallahassee. But we did it because it was the most important thing to do for the future of our city. And I believe it's the most important thing to do for the future of our entire state. We hired the first chief resiliency officer in our city. I know very strongly that the state of Florida needs a chief resiliency officer at the highest level position. We need regional resiliency officers to work alongside. We become a poster child in Miami Beach. I was in a documentary with Leonardo DiCaprio called Before the Flood. I played the mayor of Miami Beach. It was a very compelling role. And of course, what we showed is what was going on and what we need to do. And of course, Vice President Gore's film, we made an appearance there because we said, listen, we are the poster child of the problem. Let's be the poster child of the solution going forward. And that's what we have done. So on this living room tour, we've gone all over the state. And let me tell you what I keep hearing about affordable housing. Of course, wages don't match. But my message and my vision for the state of Florida, it's a pro-people, pro-business message. Because that's kind of who I am as an entrepreneur. You see candidates that come out there and they hire consultants to tell them what their message should be. Your message and who you are needs to come from your DNA. It's who you are, what your journey in your life has been. I believe in the American dream. And I believe that everyone should have the right to live the American dream. And the American dream could be that you want to be a teacher and be paid right and send your kids to school. Or it could be that you want to be an air conditioning repair person. Or you want to start a company, or you want to work for a grant. It doesn't make a difference. Everyone needs the opportunity for the American dream. And I believe what's missing in Florida is the right vision. The governor's vision has been very clear. And he believes Florida should be a state of Walmarts and McDonald's, and everyone gets paid $8.25 an hour. My vision is that we want to bring to our state the Lockheeds, the Boeings, the GEs, the Apples, the Amazons. We want to make our state a 21st century economy, because the one thing we know, as President Kennedy said, that in a rising tide, all ships will rise. But you have to have a ship, or you have to be on a ship in order to rise, which is most important. So the question is, how do you get there? And this is a funny thing for a Democrat to say, because people don't quite understand it sometimes. If you look at the HR manual of the most admired companies in America today, I don't care which one, you're going to find a lot of similarities. You're going to find that they're pro-environment, they're pro-education, they're pro-healthcare, they're pro-people. And the reason they are, because they figured out, for selfish reasons, if you really take care of your people, you actually do really well. The companies prosper, and everyone does well. So my vision is, let's do the same thing with our people in the state of Florida. And if we act the same way, we're going to attract these companies to Florida. And we're going to create that 21st century economy, because I think people are sick of seeing their kids leave the state and go for higher paying jobs outside the state of Florida. Why aren't those jobs in Florida? And the way we do it, folks, is becoming great custodians of our environment by investing in education, making sure everyone in the state of Florida has health care, because you're on Team Florida. If you're on Team Florida, you need health care. Because I can tell you, Amazon doesn't want to come here if you don't insure your people, and you don't have great education, so you don't have great graduates, and your water is dirty, and the water is coming up on Bayshore Boulevard, and you can't use it anymore because the water's coming up so high. They're not looking to come to a state like that. If you can't take care of your own people, why would any great organization want to come to your state? So I always say, look at Boston. General Electric moved its world headquarters to Boston. Why did they do it? I don't believe they did it because the mayor, Marty Walsh, is a friend of mine, gave them some big cash incentive, and they said, whoa, we're a multi-billion-dollar company, but that $2 or $3 or $5, $10 million, that just made all the difference for us, so we moved to Boston. No, that's not how it works. It works because Boston has great education, great public transportation, they have a great culture of excellence in the city of Boston. That's why GE is there. We need to create that in the state of Florida. It doesn't happen overnight, but like our resiliency program in Miami Beach, the one thing you can't do is keep kicking the ball down the road. There is no solutions other than creating a culture of excellence. If you want NASA, which I believe it should be the next Silicon Valley of the East Coast, with space travel and everything else that we know is going on, we need to invest in our institutions and our colleges going forward. So a little bit about who I am, a little bit about vision, and more importantly, I'd love to hear from all of you to ask me any questions that you would like to ask me. So I open it up to the floor. Please.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate the opportunity to hear you speak. I first heard you speak at the College Democrats conference this past spring, and I really enjoyed your message, just as I did today, especially in regards to climate change. But not long after that, you floated the idea of running as an independent. And I wonder, why you floated that idea, and ultimately why you decided to run as a Democrat.
Absolutely. Very, very good question. So I floated that idea because in my mind, and I say this everywhere I go, and I'll say it to you, I am not right. I am not left. I am forward. Okay? And the Democratic Party needs to change its message to be the party of going forward. Because that's who I am. And I'm going to be who I am. And I sure hope that fits into the Democratic message. But if it didn't, I can only be who I am. And, I always laugh when people talk about being progressive. You all hear these candidates say, we're progressive, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I always say, listen, as an entrepreneur, we don't tell you what we're going to do in the future. We kind of tell you what we've already done. So when it comes to progressive credentials, we've been the leader in climate change and sea level rise. We're the only politician, city in the entire state that's actually raised the minimum wage. We actually have the highest perfect score historic in the state of Florida in Miami Beach for the LGBTQ community over the last 4 years. As a Democrat, I always say, what were you doing to help Hillary Clinton get elected? I know what I was doing. I was on every TV channel in the country for over a year of my life. I was the only Democrat that went on Fox. I wore a Kevlar vest, and I would go on Fox and take those bullets. Okay? And I love it because everybody laughs. And I said, those people that watch Fox? We need a good portion of them to vote for us if you'd like to win and break the 20-something year losing streak of this party in Florida. Because this is a purple state. And the way you make purple is you mix blue and red. And that's how you win. So I wanted to send out a signal to the Democratic Party that that's who I am. And I will be a very independent person within the Democratic Party. And I think with my message going forward, I think people are seeing that. Because I'm just a little different. A little different. Thank you. Sir.
I'm a registered Democrat. And I had the rare opportunity of being over Health and Human Services for Hillsborough County for several years, which meant for all practical purposes I was working for Republicans. And I've sort of learned that the only way to get anything done is figure out how you can bring both sides together. And that's not exactly a forte of our current society. So my question for you is, as a Democrat, particularly since this county is not Miami Beach, how would you manage to bring together both sides of the aisle? Because that's the only thing you can get done here. And as an aside, I also have the rare opportunity of chairing a committee looking at the minimum wage ordinance in Hillsborough County years ago, and basically lost by one vote. One vote, and oddly enough, I can tell you further at a later date why. The one vote was a Democrat.
Wow. Okay.
The deciding vote was a Democrat.
Sure.
And I'll be glad to share with you.
But
Back to the question, what would you do to try to get compromise in a place that, like ours, that you have to compromise?
So the interesting thing is everywhere I go across the state, now this is more of a Democratic leading crowd, but I speak at Tiger Bay, and I'll speak and listen to anyone. Wherever I go around the state, I always get those couple of people who come up to me. It's a little bit of a litmus test. And they'll say, someone in the military. They'll say, Mayor, they'll go, I'm a lifelong Republican. I have never voted for a Democrat. I think you're going to be the first Democrat I'm ever going to vote for. Okay? And I hear it everywhere I go. Because one of the things I always say, because it's in my DNA and my heart, is I said, I may be a Democrat, but before I am a Democrat, I am an American before I am anything else. And no one has a monopoly on good ideas. Not Democrats, not Republicans, not independents. And I project that everywhere I go. Because I'm not the kind of candidate that's all of a sudden going to run to the primary and all of a sudden I'm going to pivot the primary and be someone else by November. This is who I am. I am pro-people, pro-business. And I laugh when I talk to my Republican friends. I say, well, I'm just curious. We talk about the HR manual of these companies. Is Lockheed Republican or are they Democrat? They seem to be pro-people. Now, is Boeing, are these defense contractors Democrat or Republican companies? Is that bridge Republican or is that bridge Democrat? Okay? I don't think people care. And I think that if you have a background, remember I come from an entrepreneurial business background, which can sometimes lean towards the Republican side, I seem to gain traction quite a bit. And as an entrepreneurial business person who spent my entire life doing business with everybody, I have, I think, a natural knack of bringing people together. I believe that the center is the future right now. The center is being redefined. We saw it in New Jersey. We saw it in Virginia. I believe the country wants to go back somewhat towards the center. And being a progressive business person, I think appeals to both sides. And as I said before in the beginning, no one's going to win this election with just Democrats. Okay? It's just not going to happen. You better appeal to everybody. And that's the most important thing. As an entrepreneur who's invested millions in my campaigns, and I've raised millions and outraised every other candidate, Democratic Party, I think my closest competitor 2-1, I've raised money for both Republicans and Democrats are investing in me. Because they see that this is where they want to go. And when you get big Republicans who are entrepreneurs that listen to me and say, I'm a Republican, but I really like your message, that says something.
You know? Clarify for me, what is your message that you're delivering to the other side of the aisle?
The same message I deliver right here. Matter of fact, when I talk to minimum living wage, you know what I say? I'll say, listen, some of you are Republicans out here. I said, I got to bring this up because this is a real Republican issue, this minimum living wage. And all of my Republican friends go, what do you mean it's a Republican issue? I said, let me tell you why it's a Republican issue. I said, because the one thing we know is you cannot live on $8.25 an hour, right? I mean, we all agree on that. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, independent. They go, yeah. I go, well, let me ask you a question. How do you think these people are living? Okay, let me tell you how they're living. They're living with government support. They're living with government subsidies. So I have never met a Republican that likes subsidizing somebody. I said, but more importantly, I know you're going to talk about that McDonald's down the street's not going to be able to survive. I said, well, let me give you a little clue about that McDonald's. It's 180 McDonald's. It's owned by a private equity group out of Chicago. And they love the state of Florida because we subsidize their business. They think it's the greatest state in the world. I said, what Republican do you know like subsidizing someone else's business? I said, that's what you're doing with taxpayer money right now. And all of a sudden everyone goes, oh, I get it. So bottom line is, do you want to pay their wage? Or would you like the business that's profiting to pay their wage? It's really a simple choice. It's a perfect market. So the message I deliver here is the same message I deliver everywhere. There is no difference. Matter of fact, when people ask me the pathway to success, how are you going to win? I was up in Pensacola last night. We had a big event. They're all North Florida people, and they asked me, Mayor, how are you going to win? And I'll give them the same message I give you right now. It's the same message. Nothing changes. Because it's my favorite question, by the way. You'll get people who say, Mayor, have you been to northern Florida? Have you seen those people up there? And I'll be like, well, first of all, by the way, my favorite question. It's like Warren Buffett calls it the fat pitch when you make that one big investment because you see it coming. I said, well, let me rephrase your question. Your question is, how can this Miami Beach Jewish Democrat win statewide? Okay? And I said, it's a great question. Well, let me tell you how. I said, number one, I'm in northern Florida all the time. And I resonate for all the reasons I just talked about. Matter of fact, my buddy, who's a Republican mayor of Pensacola, Ashton Hayward, has been a great help to me. Because he has the same vision I did. We're just pro-people, pro-business. Doesn't make any Republican or I'm Democrat. I said, but more importantly, I did a little study in the state of Florida. It's crazy what I found out. I found out that the majority of the population kind of lives from the I-4 down. Who would have known? Number two, I found out that the majority of the Democrats, actually the great majority, is in South Florida. Who would have known? I said, number three, the last time I looked, I was the only candidate from South Florida. I said, number four, I said, we have a lot of people in our state that speak this other language, and a lot of them coming in. It's called Spanish. I think I'm the only candidate on both sides of the aisle that speak it fluently. I said, and I actually know this African-American guy that he ran statewide too. He was up in northern Florida a lot. He actually won the state twice and became president of the United States of America. And an older Jewish guy who actually almost got the Democratic nomination, by the name of Bernie Sanders. I said, people don't care anymore. They don't care if you got 3 heads and you got blue skin. If you can communicate and you can show folks how you can make their life better, they're voting for you. That's the world we live in today. And as an entrepreneur who's investing in my own campaign, the one thing entrepreneurs don't do is we don't actually take risks. We take very calculated risks. And there is no way in the world I would have stroked a check to my campaign if I didn't believe that I'm going to win this election. And it took me months to see it and feel it, but I certainly feel it and I know we're going to win. Yes, sir.
Mayor, you're a Democrat and you speak Spanish. And we think there are maybe 300,000 people from Puerto Rico, maybe more coming in, depending on whose numbers you like. Do you have a strategy to approach those folks, and can you tell us about it?
100%. Well, that strategy has been in place for months now. After that hurricane hit, I was the first private citizen to arrive in San Juan with a cargo jet, another cargo plane. Met with the mayor of San Juan on the tarmac. Every news channel covered it all over the country. Matter of fact, the White House called me out during a press conference. I think it was a reporter from Univision or Telemundo said, the mayor of Miami Beach has landed the plane already in San Juan, Puerto Rico. What's going on here? And they said, the mayor of Miami Beach doesn't know what he's talking about. He has no idea what he's doing. And all the reporters started laughing because obviously I was there and we did it. And then what we did immediately is we began broadcasting our Spanish television commercials in Orlando from day one. We've been on TV and Spanish TV for over 2.5 months right now, with me talking to camera in Spanish, showing what we have done. And by the way, it's full saturation. If you haven't seen it, and you were Puerto Rican right now, and you were living under a rock, there's no question you're going to see it on Facebook or Twitter because we're targeting the hell out of you, okay? To make sure that you do see what we're doing. And we have all types of outreach in the community. But I think the most important thing is when we saw what happened in Puerto Rico, it was an embarrassment for our country. I mean, that was a debacle of a relief effort. And one of the things I've always said is, can you imagine if this gang at the White House was running the country when we launched the Normandy invasion? Can you just imagine? It would have been like, the weather is too bad, it's raining, and by the way, they're shooting at us. We're not going to land. Or if that group was handling the Berlin to airlift, it would have been, Berlin would have been in Soviet hands overnight. That's what would happen. I said, what we should have done is we should have shown what our country can do when we come together. You're a commander-in-chief, you're the CEO, you have unlimited resources in the United States of America. You should have landed a military invasion that would have been compelling television for HBO so the world could have seen what America can do when we come together, like we did with the greatest generation in World War II. Instead, the president was on the golf course golfing. What he should have been doing is on the phone calling the CEO of the top 25 electric companies across America and said, organize your teams right now. Our Air Force will be picking them up and bringing them to Puerto Rico. We're mobilizing all domestic electric companies. They didn't do it. Speed of the leader determines the rate of the pack. And we changed leadership in Florida. Think about this. This election this year is not the most important election in Florida. It's not the most important election in the country. It's the most important election in the world. Because what happens this year in Florida will decide 2020 and will change the future of the world going forward. That's how important this election is. I believe in my heart.
Thank you.
Going forward. Yes, sir.
Yeah, really.
My name is Desai from University of South Florida, and I'm involved with primarily with the sustainability and the energies and the environment.
Yes.
What I want to talk about is that what you say is music to our ears, because University of South Florida is a leader in the state and has got gold standard from the STARS ranking, the only doctoral university in the state of Florida. What I want to bring out is there are so many challenges that we have that we, the Sunshine State, the namesake Sunshine State, are so far behind in the solar power that it's embarrassing. And one of the reasons is, and that's where we can have a high quality employment and high quality manufacturing industries come up, is because the third party electricity sales are not allowed. And because of that, the non-profit organizations such as institutions, agencies, churches, they cannot take advantage of the investment tax credit, as you know, because of the not-for-profit. But they can't bring a third-party developer to install solar. As a result, we are so far behind compared to other states. That's embarrassing that we call ourselves Sunshine State.
Yes.
And if only we could eliminate some of these hurdles, we have a great opportunity to grow this state and be a leader in the whole country on that one. The other thing it doesn't allow is also what are called power purchase agreements, again because of the similar reason. So then we also have this great higher educational institution, but when the students come out, they are not job ready from the perspective that we don't give them enough training. USF has started the Student Success Program. However, we need a focused funding mechanism from the state that would help prepare our youth to come out and they're ready with a job, ideas, be an entrepreneur, but all they have is an academic background, not the real background. So that's another area that I'd like you to focus. And the other thing is, literally our universities, our institutions are sitting on a gold mine, I should say. Each institution facility has so many opportunities to reduce the energy cost and reduce the carbon footprint that helps the environment, and again, global melting and rising of the oceans as you're experiencing. So one of the reasons that I prepared this letter so that if it can help you
Sure.
focus that,
100%.
and if you could,
Thank you.
without elaborating
Thank
and
you.
taking over the
Absolutely.
communication over there.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, everything you said, I agree with. Number one, we're the Sunshine State. We're not